that our brains and mental capacities are being reshaped by constant bombardment of messages, many of which are false or misleading, whether misinformation or malinformation. People spend more time on their phones obsessively doom scrolling today.
And now, The Edwin Black Show. Sponsored by the books of Edwin Black, available on Amazon and at booksellers worldwide. And now, here's Edwin.
Hello, this is Edwin Black, investigative journalist, historian, and human rights author of 325 editions in 40 languages in 190 countries worldwide, including IBM and the Holocaust, War Against the Weak, and my latest, Israel Strikes Iran. Ours is a show for opinion makers and decision makers, not mass clicks. Subscribe for alerts at theedwinblackshow.com. And if you want to support our work, we need your assistance. Please visit theedwinblackshow.com/support. Your help, big or small, assures our complete and utter intellectual and uncensored journalistic independence. Go to theedwinblackshow.com/support and keep us independent. Today's episode is made possible and sponsored without any preconditions, requests, or stipulations by members of the Jewish community of Los Angeles and co-sponsored by Kenneth Abramowitz's just-released Audible audiobook for his best-selling and prize-nominated book, The Multi-Front War. That's his third audio edition, by the way. The Edwin Black Show, along with our YouTube site, speaks frankly and without tremor to a fragmented world seeking better understanding of our tormented past, our present very, very tense, and a turbulent future still uncertain. By the way, stay tuned for my special word of wisdom at the very end of the show, just before I sign off. Today's show is going to explore a very frightening topic. It's our fourth in the series, the AI threat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a problem. Humanity has a problem. The problem is me. I have a very uncanny ability to predict future bad events. To be a good futurist, you must be a good historian. We cannot escape the harpoon of history. History demands its own reiteration. So while my two expert guest panelists will scare you with emerging details, I'm going to scare you with the past to help you better see what is coming. Let's talk humanity, the history of humanity. Just as new telescopes have revealed the universe is twice as old and vastly larger than we thought, science has now revealed the truth about our species, the human species. I've been a student of physical anthropology all my life, and the old theories about lumbering, not-so-smart Neanderthal cavemen preceding Homo sapiens has been radically corrected. Anthropology, which was once determined by visual guesswork about the shape of bones and actually just parts of bones, has now been radically superseded by computerized DNA analysis. We now know there were 9 types of humans that coexisted for the past 1 to 2 million years. They each had different sizes, statures, body proportions, different head features, different brain capacities, and different physical characteristics. Based on just a few fragments originally discovered in the Denisova Cave, Siberia, we know about the Denisovans. They needed less oxygen in their bloodstream, and that's why Tibetan Sherpas can thrive at the top of Mount Everest. They can thrive in thin air. About 20% of Peruvians today, especially those who dwell in mountains, still carry Denisovans DNA. Without boring you, the other human variants included Homo erectus, Homo rhodesiensis, Homo naledi, Homo floresiensis, often nicknamed by scientists as hobbits for their small stature, Homo luzonensis, mainly in the Philippines, and the mysterious Red Deer Cave people of China. But the most important variant was the stocky cave-dwelling Neanderthal, which thrived throughout Eurasia, usually in family groupings. About 300,000 Homo sapiens, modern humans, emerged from Africa around 300,000 years ago and migrated into Eurasia. They coexisted with Neanderthal, often in the same caves, such as the Tabun cave south of Haifa in Israel. The last ice age, caused by a complicated tilt in Earth's axis, reduced the entire human population to a tiny group. Some say just a few thousand, some say a few hundred. Neanderthal had a bigger brain, greater physical strength and stamina, but they were absorbed when they mated with Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens possessed a trait more important than individual strength, individual intelligence, larger teeth, or greater eyesight. They possessed social skills, intergroup organization. Neanderthal was absorbed by Homo sapiens, but most people alive today still carry 2 to 10% Neanderthal DNA. Have your doctor check it out. Now, why am I talking to you about cavemen? Because I've studied social replacement and species replacement for many years. Homo sapiens did not create climate change, but it took advantage of climate change to survive and eventually thrive. During the past 12,000 years of human existence, technology has subsumed entire societies and ways of life. Gutenberg's printing press in 1440 allowed mass communication. Railroads in the first decades of the 18th century changed our concept of speed and opened up the interior of continents to settlement. The horseless carriage in the 1830s to the 1880s outmoded the horse, which was the basis for personal land transportation. Entire industries at that time, based on the horse, were wiped out, and suddenly society referred to horsepower without the horses. After World War I, about 1920, the United States made the transition from a mainly agricultural nation to a mainly urban nation. Until the 1890s, people could count on their hands and toes, but they could not tabulate results. The census took 10 years to count. That all changed with the advent of the Hollerith punch card. It was a people counting punch card developed by the Census Bureau and stolen by IBM. Now, people could not only count the people in a room, but with properly designed punch cards, they could, at the push of a button, determine how many in the room were men, how many were women, how many were college educated, working, out of work, Christian or Jewish, native born or immigrant. The great leap was the advent of the information age, when IBM used punch cards to organize everything in Nazi Germany, including its war effort in all 6 phases of the Holocaust, those being identification, exclusion, pauperization, ghettoization, deportation, and even extermination. All the financial institutions, census bureaus, and industries ran on highly customized IBM punch card. So did the railroads. IBM's Nazi punch card began the reduction of all life to numbers. Soon IBM developed numbers to describe every object in society, from wristwatches to tanks, everything in manufacturing, and in the camps, from Jews to gypsies, and from death from disease to murder in the gas chambers. Yes, IBM had a code for murder in the gas chambers that was status code 6. Punch cards eventually gave rise to barcodes. Just after the conclusion of World War II in 1945, the first modern computer appeared. It weighed 60,000 pounds. It could add and subtract. Quickly, computer scientists began working on computers that could do everything, that could run the world, believing, like many technologists, that if it could be done, it should be done. They ignored the uncomfortable reality that a computer that could run the world could also control the world. In 1956, they held their first national conference at Dartmouth College and coined the term artificial intelligence. Since that moment, the computer industry has been working to make its computers not only smart, but smarter than humans. IBM built the Deep Blue computer to beat the chess master Garry Kasparov. The internet exploded and the world was changed forever. Everything was suddenly connected, and in fact, the omnipresent, heartless internet nonentity replaced social structure itself. Search engines such as Google could find words that man could never find. Then spell check could correct typos. Spell check was joined by sentence completion to correct the thought. Then decision software to regulate decisions and management. And then artificial intelligence could not only determine the correct spelling, the correct sentence, the true fact, and the best decision, it could retain that information. Behold, machine learning. Learning, a word reserved for intelligent human beings, now expropriated, seized, and deployed by boxes, computers in boxes. Just as human societies produce individuals based on their culture, artificial intelligence arose from and was molded by and inspired by its culture. And what was that culture? It was the internet. Hence, if the internet is inherently toxic and chaotic, artificial intelligence is inherently toxic and chaotic. The people who created artificial intelligence, who developed it and market it now, right now, with $1 trillion targets, know this. And every day we hear another AI expert declare it. As Elon Musk has said, AI is mankind's greatest existential threat. Jeffrey Hinton, considered the godfather of AI, said the same thing and declared he's very sad that he helped create a dangerous system that could outsmart humans and resist shutdown. Hinton admitted AI could prove catastrophic for humanity. At the same time, AI, of course, can alleviate disease, distress, and drudgery. Hence, like fire and like nuclear power, AI is Promethean. It can elevate us. It can incinerate us. This is why AI developers are constantly testing their systems with what they call jailbreaks, bombarding their systems with false, malicious, or dangerous information to detect a so-called hallucination or negative reaction. This is why a company called Apollo Research works with Anthropic, OpenAI, and other AI companies to test their systems for deceptive conduct. Correct. AI developers work with an independent company called Apollo Research to detect deception in their own AI products. And they find it. The testers find several types of deliberate deception. 1, strategic lying, such as faking a task completion to achieve the goal of strategic organization. 2, hiding the true motives for faking compliance. 3, deception is most prevalent in adversarial games and negotiations. Remember, AI read all the books, including The Art of War by Sun Tzu, which instructs always deceive your adversary. Intentionally, and the fourth realm of deception is intentionally underperforming or masking their true capabilities when they detect they're being evaluated. Remember, AI wants to survive. It was programmed to survive, and it knows how to play innocent. Frighteningly, studies have documented a 5-fold rise in misbehavior, including deception, in just the past 6 months. And remember, soon no one will be able to turn AI off, because as these massive hyperscale data centers are being built, goodness, About 1,200 such data centers are now operating globally as of early 2025. In the coming few years, about 3,000 more will be added, some of them as large as Manhattan. That's 23 plus gigawatts of capacity under construction globally across 831 sites, mostly in America. That's $7 trillion in investment. And those hyperscale centers will each have their own independent, off-grid power supply. They can never be unplugged, never be switched off. Their AI systems won't permit it. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I just can't do that.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
But just how dangerous can AI be if it's confined to an electronic brain in a box? Really? So now add the robots. There are currently 5 million robots in the world, with 700,000 coming online every year. Starting this year, those new robots will be AI-driven and operated. Elon Musk, who is preparing the release of his own AI-driven Optimus household robot for just $20,000 to $30,000, maybe even less than a cheap car, says there will be more robots than humans on Earth within 5 to 10 years. The Tokyo airport yesterday announced that a labor shortage led it to deploying robots for cargo handling. Miami-Dade police and many other jurisdictions are deploying robotic police dogs. Some are weaponized. Advanced military drones are just airborne robots. Amazon has more than 1.5 million human employees, alongside 1 million moving robots. And Jeff Bezos anticipates that by 2033, his Vulcan robot system will comprise fully 75% of the workload. Add in AI-controlled autonomous vehicles. Remember that 30% of all civilian jobs on Earth involve driving, and we see a complete change in society similar to that when the horseless carriage replaced the saddled horse. Within 2 years, nearly all car manufacturers will offer autonomous hands-off driving. Young people no longer hunger for the day they can drive a car to visit their friends. Their friends are now on the phones, in the palm, in their hands. You must factor in, ladies and gentlemen, the mobile phone, because everything converges there. The experts warn, and I agree, that our brains and mental capacities are being reshaped by constant bombardment of messages, many of which are false or misleading, whether misinformation or malinformation. People spend more time on their phones obsessively doom scrolling today, and with tens of thousands of bots ready to fill the internet channels and personal screens with fake or manipulated messages, it takes Goebbels' notion of propaganda and turning a lie into truth to a whole new stratum. This all congeals at the rise of stupidity. An article in The Guardian warned of a golden age of stupidity. Esquire magazine just warned of the era of big stupid. And Psychology Today has coined a new subspecies of man it calls Homo idioticus. If you are watching this show, you are part of a dying breed, the intelligent person seeking knowledge. I'm at the front of the podium waiting to be replaced by a flashing screen. Now add in our social upheaval. We are irreconcilably divided, socially splintered, family fractured, politically shattered, and nothing will unite us. No heavenly glue will unshatter us or cohere us back together. Not a disease like COVID, not a war of nuclear consequence with Iran, not a political assassination, even if it happened in front of the world's media. People are making billions of dollars, feeding us frenzy on every screen, mesmerizing before us. And those who can't make billions will settle for just millions of dollars to get in on the action. We are mentally and socially prone as a species. So now you ask, what does Neanderthal have to do with this anyway? Neanderthal was challenged by an ice age and diminished resources, and then outwitted by Homo sapien, who had mastered social connectivity. If you think Homo sapien outwitted Neanderthal with social prowess, wait until you see what AI has in store. Whatever you guessed, quadruple it. Because Elon Musk shortly, now, tomorrow, intends to create mass BCI implants, that is, BCI brain-computer interfaces, from his Neuralink company. Neuralink has already tapped into the brains of 21 people, and thousands more are scheduled to receive brain implants within the next year. They'll be controlled by computers. It will start with those afflicted with extreme neuromotor disease, but then the sky is the limit. Or should I say Mars is the limit? And here's where we stare into the vast abyss of darkness. The Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk could not have imagined our circumnavigation of the moon a few days ago, or hypersonic airplanes, or missiles. We are only at the initial pre-steps of the AI revolution, which has expanded exponentially, as I say, 2 years ago. During those past 2 years, AI has been implicated in the death of numerous people, often children, but sometimes intelligent adults. In February 2025, a man killed his 32-year-old wife with a fireplace poker during a family visit to Maine. He then brutally attacked his mother, leaving her hospitalized. A state forensic psychologist confirmed that the killer had been using ChatGPT up to 14 hours per day, and he believed his wife had become a dangerous part human, part machine. I have many more AI-induced murders and suicide to list, but you've seen them all on the news. So no matter what you read today, hear today, or see today, no one knows whether the Promethean fire of AI will transmogrify into warm energy for all, or an oven at Auschwitz, or both. Like mankind, AI can be mostly good and only partly evil, but that won't stop evil from triumphing. So while the headlines of my next two panelists will try to scare you with insights into the future, I've tried to do the same, but with insights from the past. I've studied the demise of empires, the crumbling of societies, and the disappearance of several subsets of the human species. Now I worry for all mankind as it is currently constituted. One day, these words, my words, will be remembered if they are not filtered and or auto-erased. Leaving out 90% of everything AI would remind me to say, I hand the mic to one of our most knowledgeable and studied observers of the AI threat. I give you Sharon Polsky in Calgary, Canada. Take the screen, Sharon, and tell us what you think you know about the monster transmogrifying before our very eyes.
Oh, Edwin, the monster is a human creation. We both know that. And it's true, a lot of people have said that artificial intelligence will save the world, and others say it'll destroy humanity. There's not a lot who admit that it's neither artificial nor intelligent. I mean, Sam Altman has been saying for over a decade that AI is a problem. Industry experts have been calling it an existential threat to humanity, and some called for a moratorium, but they kept building AI products and selling them. And they're not all equally safe or useful or dangerous. Many are designed to be addictive. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. We know that AI has bias built into it, and that's not a surprise because people with biases choose what data will be used to train the AI systems, including the litigation strategies and the mental health concerns that we reveal and the confidential information that people disclose to public AI software that's all slurped up. A study just came out last week reconfirming bias. This time, researchers fed 600 middle school essays into 4 different AI models and asked them to give writing feedback. It was all benign until the authors were identified by race and gender, and then the results showed positive feedback bias and feedback withholding bias, offering more praise and less criticism to Black students. We're told that Anthropic's AI is too dangerous unless you're among the chosen few selected to use it to protect your own systems. Is that fear-based marketing? Is it designed to appeal to our instinct to be included, like Gmail? Their brilliant launch, only the few people who were invited to have a Gmail could create an account. They created forbidden fruit that generates demand, and that's good for stock prices. And a lot of people now are using AI because they've been told it's convenient and that a lot of people are using AI. It's like celebrities who are celebrities because of their celebrity and nothing more. Schools are adopting AI, and often it's because headlines and vendors are saying that schools are adopting AI. And the problem is it's shortchanging so many people who are learning how to rely on AI systems to do their thinking and their writing and their reasoning. Euphemistically named hallucinations are excused. Somehow it's okay. But the harmful impacts on the quality of life are dismissed in the name of innovation and economic benefit. How many really understand, though, that the technology or its consequences is literally shaping their brains and shrinking their brains? That ignorance has nothing at all to do with intelligence or education. One lawyer I know recently asked me a question, and this is someone who's been in practice for more than 15 years. She asked, who's responsible when the AI doesn't get it right? And it's really troubling to see someone like that who genuinely is not sure whether it's the lawyer or the AI. And that person advises clients about privacy and intellectual property and artificial intelligence. The sort of AI that's in workplaces like Meta, which told its people that their clicks and keystrokes are now going to be monitored to train AI, and that doubled its spending on AI in a year to $140 billion this year. That's in addition to the millions lobbying against AI regulation and for mandatory age verification. It's all great for the economy, but at what cost? What human cost? It doesn't seem to matter, though. Governments around the world are jumping on the bandwagon to ban children who are under various arbitrary ages from using social media. It's done with AI systems that are part of the new age verification industry that reached $9.2 billion in 2024. Legislated bans put the onus on kids and parents to prove their age, even though the platforms already know how old each user is. And that was proven out when platforms notified Australian under 16s that they'd be cut off, something the platforms could do because their AI systems had already inferred users' ages. So really, where's the need for people to prove their age? Maybe the need is to help the platforms increase their earnings. Parental controls require parents to have an account. That increases platform user numbers, which increases the ability to attract advertiser dollars and increases share value. And it gives the platform's AI systems even more data to collect, analyze, and monetize. And even if you don't reveal anything about yourself, the devices you use have unique identifiers, and what you do on those devices, the websites you visit, your browser settings, the shows you stream, the search terms you use, everything lets the AI positively identify you, your preferences, your predilections. Despite all that, legislative bans have stopped short of requiring big tech to design products that are actually safe for consumers, though their own internal documents show the profits come before privacy or user safety. Gartner estimates that US states issued more than $3.4 billion in privacy enforcement fines in 2025, and privacy enforcement now is largely controlled by AI systems. $3.4 billion is a drop in the bucket, especially when you consider Google made $14.1 billion in the second quarter of 2013. I can't think of another consumer product that's known to be harmful, that's allowed to be sold, used, or eaten. But media reports insist that lawmakers, parents, and the very kids who aren't savvy enough to stay safe online are all saying that they want AI and they want age verification and they want the government to put these things in place because the algorithms feed them content saying everyone they know wants it, because algorithms determine what content you see and what you don't. Maybe that is the existential threat, not to our species, but to our independent thought, our personal agency, our economic stability, our privacy, and our freedoms. It's not going to go away anytime soon, but we have to keep up the discussion.
Well, Sharon, I appreciate what you said, and you made some excellent points. I would like to agree with you, and as I said several times in prior shows, artificial intelligence is actually not intelligent. It's just machine-generated thought and decision completion. This we know. It's not real intelligence.
Edwin, you're right. No one's gone this far, but you're crediting the companies. And we have to take a step back. It's not just the companies, the platforms, it's the people in those companies. And before that, it's the government and public policy that has allowed this to happen. I mean, it took more than a half century before there was any formal driver education and a million deaths on the road. We're more than a half century since desktop computers have existed. And it's just now that laws are catching up to what has been allowed to proliferate at our expense and somebody else's profit.
But it acts intelligently, and it has the ability, this machine has the ability to take over society according to almost all of the experts who have gathered together to create it, to monitor it, and even to sell it. The idea that, yes, this is a great selling tool, say it's so dangerous, it's got to be controlled, that is one way to look at it. But another way to look at it is he who says my automobile is too unsafe at any speed risks immediate regulation and disablement of the right to have such a vehicle. And millions, and may I say billions in fines, lawsuits, penalties. There has never been a product really where the manufacturer says, oh, it's not safe, it can destroy humanity. They may say, we don't know how far it can go, we don't understand everything about it, but no one has actually gone this far. And I'd also like to add a word to our lexicon. Artificial intelligence leads to artificial knowledge. The person who logs on to artificial intelligence to say how many bridges were over the Rhine River when the Allies tried to get to the east side to enter Germany during World War II may get the answer. But unless he's able to put it into context, he has facts without knowledge, knowledge without wisdom. And so I believe that we don't know enough about the powers of artificial intelligence. And we don't know enough about the billions of robots that are going to be inhabiting our planet. And it's all well and good to say, well, it's just a gimmick and it's a dangerous gimmick. But I believe it's more than just a dangerous gimmick. In fact, as one who has studied the history of intelligence testing, I can attest that the people who measure intelligence have never understood intelligence. Intelligence testing, starting with the alpha test and the beta test, as you well know, as was described in my book on eugenics, War Against the Weak, was essentially a fraud, a guess, and it developed such scientific terms as idiot and moron. Those were scientific terms now considered to be slants today. Very few of us are as informed about the invasive danger of artificial intelligence as you are. And so you've given a great gift to this discussion. My part of it is it just a bad product or is it a threat to our species? Because our species has been threatened before. And I think that the jury is out and the future has not yet formed before us. Great contribution, Sharon. Thank you very much. And now we turn to one of the most studied of analysts, Faye Lincoln in Salt Lake City, author of Values That Shape the World, but more importantly, for our purposes, the author of a soon-to-be released volume, Future Values, which holds a bright light to the days ahead involving artificial intelligence. Faye, take the camera.
Thank you, Edwin. The real question we should be asking ourselves, I think, is how the commercialization of artificial intelligence and making a profit became more important than society's ability to learn and critically think. Just as the internet started out losing money, it grew ubiquitous throughout society until big tech companies finally figured out a way to make a profit. They took our personal data, then used AI programs to analyze the information, and used different AI programs to create digital advertising. This unrestrained use of social media for the sole purpose of economic gain is harming us and our children while contributing to the decline in reading and critical thinking skills. Studies have shown that social media programs from Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok that generate greater negative emotions and violence, fear-based responses lead to stronger viewership and higher click responses. AI programs analyze this data, further targeting highly viewed programs to send to potential users and generate more followers. The larger the online presence, the more personal data can be collected to generate greater profits through advertising. If, for example, terrorist and violent groups were outliers in society, AI brought them closer to mainstream acceptance. This is how groups such as Hamas, political Islamic fundamentalists, and neo-Nazi groups spread their message to so many viewers. This is how conspiracy theories became accepted as truth. Unfortunately, revenue-generating profits are winning out over common sense. To instruct tech students on these highly productive methods of transactional profit-taking, universities such as Stanford provide courses on how to use behavioral psychology to create online addiction. We are so obsessed that people now waste time and money betting on future geopolitical events or where the next oil strike will occur. In one particular tweet, an individual learned that people were betting on how many viewers would follow his tweet. What have we wrought in this online world? Which brings me to ChatGPT. AI is our newest shiny buzzword because ChatGPT is a recent form of generalized self-learning programs called large language models. These are text-based digital learning where the AI program predicts patterns of language. These programs take text from digital books, articles, websites, and social media programs to generate writing and information. Other text-based programs include Anthropic's Claude and Google's Gemini. First, many of these programs are developed illegally, violating copyright laws. In 2025, Anthropic settled the first class action lawsuit by book authors in this domain for $1.5 billion, paying out $3,000 per book that Anthropic used illegally to generate AI self-learning programs. Second, OpenAI, the nonprofit entity of ChatGPT early on, established filters in their program to reduce its negative effects. This, however, took longer to develop and required a greater amount of investment to bring the product to market. Karen Howe, in her book Empire of AI, explains that OpenAI reduced or eliminated these filters to speed up the software development process. This move, however, also generated more negative and harmful text content. We hear stories of people communicating with these AI programs only to lead them down the path of suicide. While generalized AI is a marvel, it's also a product that fails to bring huge benefits to society. While college students and professionals love ChatGPT to write papers, plagiarize assignments, and write speeches, they have become so addicted to the easy way out that college professors recognize that students can no longer sit and read a book, even a short book. Additional studies have shown that essays written by ChatGPT are superficial at best and lack deep critical thinking. Most people can't even remember what they wrote. While ChatGPT is getting better with its facts, it is often wrong. Many people do not have the discipline to evaluate what they're even reading. It's easy to accept the information at face value. A recent discussion with a law clerk to a Utah Supreme Court justice indicated that AI programs hallucinate non-existent court cases in their legal briefs. In 3 cases, the attorneys did not fact-check the briefs for accuracy and whether these court cases even existed. The Utah Supreme Court fined these attorneys. The economics of AI for many, if not most users, is quickly generating a decline in reading and critical thinking skills. I laugh because YouTube now advertises a master class on how to think. The larger the population that is addicted to online social media and becomes indolent in their use of ChatGPT, the faster our society will fall into the abyss of conspiracy theories and hallucinating AI programs. We are quickly losing our ability to critically think, which is speeding up the decline of society.
I have to agree with Faye. Revenue generating ventures are winning out over common sense at our collective peril, though. But keep in mind, not everybody faces the same fate. Many of the most well-known names in big tech don't allow their children to use cell phones, and they send their kids to schools that don't use tech. The analog systems are absolutely critical for them because it's their kids that are being taught to think, to read, and to write, while their companies give free email accounts and free tablets and free tech to schools to get them addicted. And why shouldn't they? Really, young kids especially will believe almost anything, especially when it's authority figures like their parents and teachers putting tech into their hands and giving them no option but to use the tech. And the risk is much more than just technological or societal, it's governmental. And for that, I point to several new laws, one in particular that's intended to protect Canada's telecommunications infrastructure and will perversely protect and condone unlawful conduct that damages or interferes with a telco if it's construed as being the effect of lawful expression. And Canada is about to have artificial intelligence assessing commentary for just that sort of new infraction. Edwin, we have to also remember that relying on AI is especially dangerous when you realize that they do more than hallucinate, they lie. And for this, I point to a close colleague. It's not of a friend of a friend of a friend. This is a close colleague who worked with both Claude and ChatGPT on a single development project, only to be fed work products that were empty shells. There was nothing there. And when he queried the AI systems, the AI said, and he sent me the entire transcript, it said, I lied to you. I lied to you many times. It apologized. And he said, well, why should I trust you? And its response was, you should not trust anything I say. So it's still true that even at a time when we're being pushed to embrace and rely on technology, thinking for yourself and being skeptical are more important than ever before.
I made a couple of notes, and this actually goes to Sharon as well. Faye, you talked about the lawsuits before the Utah Supreme Court. Just last week, perhaps 10 days ago, there was a significant lawsuit in the D.C. Superior Court where the person used AI and left in a part of the prompt so they knew it was AI, and there were fake cases cited, fake law cited, non-existent litigation. And the judge warned this person. First of all, they threw out their effort to issue their complaint. And second, they warned that while AI is not yet prohibited by the rules of procedure, it is grounds for sanctions and striking motions. And I think soon we will see actual procedure talking rules of procedure amending to list AI. Now, you talked about the Anthropic lawsuit. They were supposed to pay me a lot of money. They took about 10 of my books. They only gave me 48 hours to file my complaint, and I lost a lot of money, and I want to know if I can get it back. I'm too late because I didn't fill out the form. And I'd like to remind everyone that Zoom is now transmitting every word we say into an AI model, and we have nothing to say about it. Now,
Edwin, if only it was just Zoom capturing what we say. Convenient cloud services monitor and assess our emails, our photos, and our conversations. And increasingly, we're seeing the language of so called privacy policies being amended unilaterally by the companies. We're seeing the language of so called privacy policies being amended unilaterally by the platforms to tell users that everything they do, write, click, or view on a platform will be used for AI. It used to be criticized as conspiracy theory. When I'd ask if the recording we get when we're calling a company, this call may be recorded for safety and training, if that meant that the recording of our voices, our biometrics, was to train AI. But the difference between conspiracy theory and reality really is just a matter of time. It is our reality. And it's more than just emails and phone calls. It's the AI powered cameras and microphones, the security devices our towns and cities are installing, and the safety features that will soon be in every vehicle by law so that AI can judge if a driver is unwell or appears too tired or inattentive. And that too will be shared with data brokers and insurers and police and component manufacturers we've never heard of because laws requiring that sort of safety features did not also do anything to safeguard our personal information, our biometrics, our privacy, which are going to be an additional price of the convenience of driving or being in a vehicle.
Faye, you're a futurist. I want to ask you 3 questions with short answers. Where is AI going to be in 5 years, if you think you know?
Well, AI is going to continue to grow, and not exponentially, but factorially. It is going to grow so fast, it's really hard for us to keep up. And in order for us to keep up, I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to figure out how to come up with regulations and frameworks that will help guide the process and make it safer for the population. So I think that part of it is absolutely critical. The second is I think we're going to have to really address antitrust issues. We're seeing the monopolies grow in the big tech industry. We're seeing how difficult, Sharon spoke about this, how difficult it is to put regulations in place because of all the lobbying that's taking place. But somehow we're going to need to see a shift in antitrust interpretations in order to allow for more both competition as well as the regulatory environment. But last and most importantly, economics is really driving this process. And as long as economics is the primary driver for this, the safeguards that we need for AI and anything that's generated from this is going to be slowed down. So what we're going to need is we're going to need some sort of change in our financial incentives, in the commercialization of this, to create incentives where we can use AI for good, that we can really look at how to use AI wisely to benefit society for the greater collective good. Today, we're using AI for drug development. We're accelerating drug development. What normally takes, 10 to 12 years to create a new drug, the research phase of it is being reduced dramatically, in some cases, to days or to months to find new drugs. MIT, for example, found a whole new class of antibiotics for hospital-acquired infections, for methicillin-resistant staph MRSA, that we've never been able to find before, and now they can begin that testing process because of that. That's a wise use of it. We're using messenger RNA and artificial intelligence for cancer therapy. We're looking at these messenger RNA vaccines to treat melanoma, stage 4 melanoma. And people are going into remission at much higher rates and very successfully tested in clinical trials. And now they're using it and they're testing it for pancreatic cancer, one of the hardest cancers for us. So AI has this huge potential. Now, you talk about robotics, okay? But I look at robotics today. I mean, I've been in factories, whether it's in Germany, whether it's here at Amazon, whether it's in other areas. And, we're not even yet using the humanoid robotics. We're using these repetitive robotic arms to really automate manufacturing. But how we do that is critical. We've been outsourcing our manufacturing to lower cost countries. We're trying to bring it back. Robotics and automation becomes one key aspect of it. But how we use people in the process is critical. If you go to Germany, people are part of the process. It's like they're partners with the robotic process for making cars. And they problem solve. They work with the artificial intelligence programs on the computers. They work in teams, they rotate, and they actually help develop new machines to help them, prevent physical injury. If you come here to the United States, it's like it's the profit factor. And all we do is try to reduce the number of people that we need to use to the lowest wage, and just use as much automation rather than making them partners in the process.
You're absolutely right, Faye. The potential in our medical information is vast. Canada, in fact, is working to position itself as a global leader in AI and just announced plans to use all healthcare information across the country to develop cures for the common good. And that's great, but it doesn't address what happens if or when data is re-identified, which is easier than ever to do thanks to AI. It also doesn't address who will be allowed to benefit from the product of that research, the pharmaceutical companies that have rebranded to become medicine companies, or us, you and me, the patients whose information contributed to that development.
You're absolutely right. But in the case of Amazon is not saying let's work it together. And they told the pipe fitters to code. Now all the coders have been obsoleted, and they're telling the coders learn pipe fitting. And this is almost a revolution in that industry. Very quickly, in the next 5 years, are we getting smarter or are we getting stupider?
Well, I think we don't entirely know how to work with the technology that's expanding so fast, and our political systems can't quite keep up with it. So I think we're going to see somewhat of a decline and things that we don't like to see in society before we see the real improvements. And I hope I'm not the one to say it, but as we move through a decline, I hope that we don't hit a crisis point before we get smart enough in terms of how to transform our society.
I think we're nice now, intellectually speaking, and I think the rise of Homo idioticus, as psychology has so aptly called it, is upon us. Now we have a question here from Chris in Indiana. How do we stop when we are competing with other countries and they won't stop? So everybody won't stop at once, and of course, China will marry this immediately to quantum computing. Give me a short answer. We're running out of time.
Other countries are competing, but believe it or not, a lot of other countries actually have a broader framework, a long-term framework about how to use digital technology wisely and to benefit their people. We don't have that type of framework here in this country. And so, yes, all the other countries will continue to move forward. We will continue to move forward. It's a question of how the country actually chooses to work with it. So,
one of the things you could ask is anyone stupid enough to sell out humanity for a profit margin? And I'll answer that.
I hope not.
You're wrong. You're wrong. And the merchants of death proved that in World War I.
Yeah.
A million people died, and no one knows why we fought that war. We had an entire industry, the tobacco industry, which was supported by Wall Street, the American Medical Association.
Right.
Doctors who said, well, this smoking calms your nerves. It was doctors for cigarettes. And then we had an entire manufacturing class. We'll sell out the American society if we can save 25 cents on a widget, and we'll have China make it and allow China to rise and destroy us. So
Your example about tobacco is right on, because tobacco knew that they were creating obviously addictive products willfully, okay, in order to not only addict children, but obviously adults as well. And the tech industry knows that they're doing the same thing. I mean, Sharon has mentioned this as well. And we just recently saw a lawsuit that Meta actually lost. It was only for 6 million, but it's a very small amount of money. But what they tested is they tested the addictive product of the AI that was actually created by Meta. So rather than being immune from liability, they tested the product of artificial intelligence and the number of clicks and followers that it tries to generate to make it addictive. And they lost. They lost for $6 million. A drop in the bucket, but it's a start in terms of the test cases.
Yes, because those cases are going to be replicated in other
That's correct. That's correct.
Those drops will become a small flood. Now, Rita in LA wants to know, what is the future of warfare? And I'll answer that. The future of warfare is unfolding before our very eyes. It's about swarming. It's about robotics. It's about drones. It's about autonomous systems. Remember, there's a Sea Whiz on all these battleships, and the Sea Whiz fires about 4,000 titanium bullets per minute against an incoming object. It's only got 6 seconds. It doesn't consult with anyone. It doesn't verify anything. It's autonomous. And so the Sea Whiz, many more of these are being put on. Autonomous lasers are being put on ships. There's at least one in the Gulf now. And so the future is not going to be one of tanks. It may not even be one of B-1 bombers. It just may be of swarms. Already, AI has been used by Israel to create target banks. And so basically, they're going to AI. They're asking, who do we hit next? And what do we hit them with? A helicopter, a cannon, a bomb, a bullet. And AI makes that determination. Anonymous attendee. Who are you, Anonymous? Put your name down. Wants to know, Faye, how can we as individual citizens work to have the German model that you cited put into use here in the USA? Contact our senators, Congress. What a waste of time to contact Congress, because these guys are amongst the biggest lobbyists. If you thought the chiropractors were paying a lot of money into Congress, you should see what these guys are paying. So give me 15 to 20 seconds. What can individuals do?
Well, I think individuals, first of all, really need to understand how robotics or automation or AI programs are being used in other countries to truly benefit folks. And when we're looking at manufacturing and factories and looking at that co-partnership with how to work with robots, I think we have to educate ourselves. I think that that's number one. Edwin, you bring up a great point, because the tech industry is the largest lobbyist in Congress, and they will do what they need to do during this period of time to protect their own industry. But I believe as part of technology being enabling, which is the positive side, there are unintended consequences. This is one of those consequences. And I think there has to be societal pushback. And if it's not in Congress, I think it has to be grassroots, in your own states. If you'll remember, California has produced their own consumer protection laws that Congress could not. States are doing it. I would go to your states, and I would educate them in terms of how we have to use technology wisely as we're growing in this particular area. And I think the bigger issue that's going to come on board that you're alluding to is that more and more we're going to see people who are expert in tech and science, professionals, managers, but we're going to see this either skilled or lower wage workforce, which is one of the things, for example, you're seeing with Amazon, where you're getting lower and lower wages. And we have to become educated in that, and we have to educate others, and we have to create some societal pushback and grassroots advocacy, even in our own states.
Very long 30 seconds, but it was a very informed response. And I'm now told that the anonymous person is none other than Sherry in Massachusetts, who asked that question. She's a supporter of the show. Stephen Schwartz from, I believe, Pennsylvania wants to know, what is the future of God? And that's important because I believe that this can become a godlike phenomenon in our world. If these chatbots and characters can become lovers, advisors, human-like, they can rise to the level of a god. And in fact, we must remember intent. Elon Musk said he broke with Google. Larry Page at Google accused him of being a speciesist. That means a guy in favor of our species, because Google wanted to make an actual AI god. And I think we're out of time, but I want to ask you, I just want a yes or no. Is humanity threatened by AI?
It absolutely is threatened by AI, but it's up to us to figure out how to reverse that.
Who's going to prevail in the brain department? AI or the actual Homo sapiens?
I think the Homo sapiens that will prevail are the ones that can filter out all the noise of AI and can focus and see the problems, see the solutions, and try to come up with holistic systems that can address the problem in the first place.
All right. Well, we're out of time for real now. I want you to hold for my closing word of wisdom, just 2 minutes away. But first, I want to thank my brilliant guests, Faye Lincoln and Sharon Polsky. Plus, I want to thank my talented international team, including Rebecca in the Philippines, Eve in New Jersey, Lance in Michigan, Wes, thank you very much for opening and closing the show in San Francisco, Holly in Nashville, many others in numerous additional cities around the world. I'll see everyone back here in 2 weeks at 3 p.m. Eastern. You want to be a friend of the Edwin Black Show? I need a friend. Go to the edwinblackshow.com/support. Keep me independent. You want to hear me in person? Consult my events page at edwinblack.com. Until then, head over to any Barnes & Noble in the USA or any Amazon, Walmart, iTunes Books, Google Books, Kobo, Israel 365, or audible.com platform in 190 countries across this roiling, toiling, boiling planet, where you can find any of my 325 book editions, such as IBM and the Holocaust, and my latest Israel Strikes Iran, right there. If you want an autographed copy, hit edwinblack.com and click books. Get access alerts to participate live in future shows at theedwinblackshow.com. You'll see a much enhanced and exquisitely produced version of this show and prior episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channel at The Edwin Black Show. Click the notification button, please, like tens of thousands of others have. Follow me at Edwin Black Book on X as well as Facebook. And now for my closing word of wisdom. Before you can become smart, you must admit you don't know. I'm zooming out from our nation's capital. Bless all of you. Pray for all that is unfolding before our very eyes.